Welcome to the weekly Wind Spirit card pull, where I pull a wind out of the sack for the collective, and then I kind of give an interpretation from a personal viewpoint and also from the book Winds of Spirit, which is a Nautilus award-winning book, and it's up for many other awards this year, and you can get your copy. Hey, and if you get your copy, you can send me an email with a purchase receipt for the book to windsofspiritbook@gmail.com, and I send you a mini wind blessing and a wind card reading. And people have been saying how really great they are, and it's been fun for me to practice, reading for people that I just see your name and your book receipt and give these insightful readings. Well, I think they're insightful. They're insightful for me, and the people who are receiving them say so they must be. All right. And look at this great new basket I got. We're going to put the card into this basket after we pull it from the wind sack. And thank you, Jody Brenton, for sending me that. She's up in Freeport, and this is a pine needle basket. It's very, very cool. I don't know if you can see it over there, but it's really special. And it's big enough to hold the whole deck. But for today, I'm going to pull a card and put the one card in there to remind us of what card came to help us. Wow, this is a great card. Well, they're all great, but this particular wind is Ilmarinen, the Finnish wind of the Inventor. And the message is forge ahead, everything is possible. So let's see what Winds of Spirit has to say about Ilmarinen. And there's a long story that goes along with this particular wind god. He was the smithy, and he could pull from the flames magical things like the salts of the earth, the money, and he even created himself a love of his life. And what the problem was, and if you've done any magic to create the love of your life, you know that sometimes what we pull from the flames is something otherworldly. And that happened to me early in my life when I did a little magic to conjure up the person of my dreams. And sure enough, within hours, this person magically appeared in front of me in a odd situation, like in a hallway behind the Sears at the mall when I had been really out in the yard gardening, and a friend stopped by and said, hey, could you run to the mall with me? And sure enough, this person that I was trying to conjure showed right up right in front of my face. And in that moment, what I got to really see was, yes, Renee, you can conjure up anything you want, but it might not always be in your highest and best good. And in this particular case, this other person was involved with somebody else and had had a family tragedy that had bestowed upon her. And it was like, now, is this really what you want to get in the middle of? So we have to really tend to what we give for magic. And I'm being called to read Ilmarinen in the West. And he ushers in mysterious winds from the West. Partnerships with family, nature, and community are at the forefront. You're reminded that although supernatural rituals might produce immediate results, these gifts are not always in your best interest. Oh, isn't that funny? I said it right before I opened to this particular direction. Now, in the book, the winds are divided into cardinal directions. And what the cardinal directions are, and I teach this, and I'm going to be doing an intro to wind mastery class this summer, but what these cardinal directions they're structures to organize your life experience. And why they're really enduring structures is because they've been being used since the beginning of time, or at least the beginning of time where we started to mark locations in caves and also in writing on the tablets and things like that. So these cardinal wind structures have an enduring force because they've something that we agreed upon to help us navigate through life and structure our conscious reality and maybe even our unconscious reality as well. So money and magic do not necessarily produce happiness. Sorrow is a process that a wizard's magic cannot heal. The The best inventions are gifts that serve community at large. Prosperity flows freely when your intentions are pure and kind. Well, that's really good to know, because when we do this in reverse, and with this particular wind spirit, when he produced this love of his life, it was a cold-hearted, cold gold statue that just reminded him that he had lost this love of his life, and that it was just a constant reminder of his misery and sorrow. So in our life, think about it. What structures in your life do you keep around that are just to remind you of your own misery and sorrow? I was thinking this week on a wind walk that I had really offered somebody some really great advice about how they could move from, a chronic state of depression into more joyful living. And what I was thinking, because I hadn't heard back from this person as to whether or not they were going to employ my brilliant tactics, was that, wow, if we move from suffering and sorrow into a state of presence and happiness, that means that everything else along the way needs to shift too. And so we have to really be careful when we start to ask for magically what we think we want, because, spirit is going to usually give you what you want, and it may not be what you need, or it may not be what you're really best intended for. And so I usually ask, when I'm doing the magic and blowing to the wind, for this or something better. So let's call to Ilmarinen, and he's the Finnish inventor. And there's a whole story that you really want to read in Winds of Spirit in order to understand more about the magical powers of this wind and how relevant it was to the culture, the context, and so that if our magic and our good deeds aren't serving the greater community, then they're not growing corn, and they probably are best to be left for the magician doing magic tricks on stage. All right, so let's call to this wind. And in the first wind, let's ground ourselves to the earth. The second wind, let's call to this magical, and here I'll show you, can you see it? The Finnish inventor, and then you can read more about it on my website or in the book. And also, if you buy the book, don't forget, I'll give you a little mini reading this month. All right, so let's call to him. And then the third one, let's create an energy bubble so that we can start to discern what is in our highest and best good, because we don't always know, especially when there's some broken parts of us that are running the ship. It feels like some strong winds are going to be blowing this week. So let's call to this Finnish inventor wind, Ilmarinen, to come in here and help us with our clever inventions. And he was fanning the flames of the smithy, getting that fire to burn really hot, so that in that flame is the part of the energetic magic you can pull out. And let's protect all of our new inventions with, we're going to zip up, and we start at our pelvic, we come up over our head, and we're going to zip into the energy of this wind spirit card. How does that feel? I'm ready to go out and invent. In fact, I'm inventing words on the page this week. What are you inventing? Why don't you come over to the Wind Clan and tell us about what are you inventing this week? What's currently in your smithy? And also remember that I also am co-host of the Shaman's Cave, which is every Sunday, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we can deliver it right to your inbox if you go over to shamanstv.com. And I do that with Sandra Ingerman. And it's always a healing adventure. So join us over there. And I'm Renee, the Practical Shaman, and the Hay House award-winning author of Winds of Spirit. Have an awesome week.